name is Elke from Mobiel21. I'm not a data scientist, not at all. Mobiel21 is an NGO in Leuven, and we try to convince people to think about their mobility behavior and to try to travel in a more sustainable way. So that's what we do. We do campaigns, educational activities, some research, and Route Coach is one of the projects that we have done to convince people to travel in a more sustainable way, but also together to have some data. Sorry. Okay, so Route Coach is a mobile lifestyle application in the region of Leuven. So it's Leuven and the region around it. And it was a partnership between Mobiel21, the University of Ghent, the province of Vlaams-Brabant, Flemish Brabant, and the city of Leuven. And it was also subsidized by Interreg, so it was a European project. The idea was to have a lot of data that isn't there or wasn't there yet for the city and the region of Leuven, but multimodal data. So not only on bikes or not only on cars, but multimodal data, also combined trips, people traveling by bike to the train station, take the train, etc. And also encourage people to travel in a more sustainable way. So those were the two objectives of the application. So it was a campaign that we have set up for sustainable mobility. It was a mobile app which had a personal coach and uses some gaming aspects to motivate people to let them track themselves, but also to change their behavior. It supports a policy 2.0, an implementation and a two-way communication between policymakers and the citizen, because citizens gave data to the policymakers and policymakers gave advices to the users of the application. Our role, Mobiel21, had a role in motivating people or enhance them to use the application, because you can have a very beautiful application, but if no one uses it or downloads it, then you won't have any data at all. So we set up a very general, extensive campaign. We mostly want people in the region of Leuven, of course, but the idea was that we have to talk about Route Coach in any way and anyhow. So we even got into the 7 o'clock journal, how do you say it, the news. We were a news item, so that was nice to see. But of course you had some general campaigning things like posters, a movie, bread sex, I don't know how you say that, but in English. And then of course, because we wanted to have everyone involved in the application, and not only the very motivated app users or smartphone users, we wanted to have everyone. So we set up also a very targeted campaign to schools, primary schools, high schools, students in Leuven, of course, but also companies, seniors. We targeted seniors groups. So we wanted to have everyone on board, which is difficult, of course, but we set up some targeted campaigns. We gave prizes for people using the application, let them track themselves. We did some activities to motivate them, register them by themselves, all together. So all sorts of things to motivate people to use the application, because it was important to have a lot of people involved. Next to all these campaigning things, there were also some things within the application to make it attractive to use. So not only the campaign to enhance people, but also the personal advantages within the application, so that people were willing to use the application, that was interesting to use. So as mentioned before, there were advices within the application. So you track your trips, your daily trips, like home to work or home to school or home to shop. On that specific daily trips that you do or did, you received some personal travel advice. The travel advice was based on your mobility profile, because during the registration you had to complete some survey, and then you were dedicated to one specific mobility profile, so that a die-hard car user won't receive an advice to bike, to do the travel by bike, because you never get people out of the car directly on a bike. You have to do something else. And it was also based, the advices, on policy goals, of course, because we wanted to have people travel in a more sustainable way. And you can also choose as a user yourself what you find important yourself. So you can choose, I want to save CO2 emissions, or I want to burn more calories. You could choose, or save money, or save time. So those were the advices that were given. Next to that, there were also some gaming aspects in the application. There were leaderboards and challenges, and also you could share emotions within the application. If you has discovered a very nice go-through to use by bike, then you could share this on the application, and that other users could learn from you. And then there were also personal statistics on your travel, on your daily trips. So you get statistics on CO2 emissions, on calories burned, on time used, on money spent of all your trips that you have done in the previous periods. So those were all the personal advantages. So there were several things to motivate people to use the application. First, get them into the application, and then when they have downloaded the application, that they will still use the application, that it's interesting for them. So the campaign lasts for 5 months. So we started Route Coach in Leuven and the region in January this year, in 2015. And we did an extensive campaign during 5 months. So after 5 months, we had like 8,000 visits on the application and our website. And we had almost 5,000 registrations within the application or website. So people could also register through the website. And we had 1,500 active users in the region of Leuven using the application and let them track themselves on their way in or towards the city. So we had a lot of kilometers and a lot of trips tracked, which count like almost 500 trips per day coming in out of the application. So the idea was also, of course, that data was given to the policy makers of Leuven, the city of Leuven and the province. So a lot of data came out of the application, of course. This is a first view of, it's a different color, of all data collected by the application. And then we had to think on, okay, we have all this data, and what are we going to do with this, and what are we going to learn out of the data? And that was a very difficult question, both for the policymakers, Leuven province, as for the University of Ghent, because it was the first time that they did this thing, and it was the first time that the city of Leuven had the option to have so much data on mobility or travel behavior in Leuven. But this is one of the maps that was, can you see this? The color is really bad. This is one of the maps that the University of Ghent has developed. So we had travel time by bike and by car to go to the train station in Leuven at rush hour. So, and then the University of Ghent developed a map. And in the blue area, it's not that clear there, but in the blue area, you are faster by bike to go to the train station at rush hour. And in the yellow area, you're faster by car. So you cannot see it from there, of course, but it goes until 3 kilometers away from the train station. You're faster by bike to the train station. And at the top left over there, there's also the influence of the cycle highway to Brussels. There then it's faster to bike on the cycle highway, so there you can see the influence of that. And it's based on the GPS data coming out of the application. This is also one of the maps that the university has made. there is the idea, not a traditional mobility research thing, but there you can see, which is orange, yellow over there, they're the pedestrians. They walk slower and they spend more time in the area. So that's interesting. Yeah, you can definitely see, of course, if you know Leuven, the shopping streets, of course people spend more time there, but it's also interesting to see that some other areas that people spend more time, walk slower, and it's interesting maybe to do something or and that's another map. That's a cycle or a bike isochrone, also to the train station, where you can see within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes to go by bike to the train station. So as I said before, the idea was to have a lot of data for the city and the province, but it was difficult for them to set up some targets. What kind of data do we want, and what are we going to do with the data? Next to that, it was also a big discussion over and over and over again. How representative is this data coming out of the application, and is it a representative sample of the population of the city of Leuven? Do we want to have that? Do we need to have that representative sample? What kind of data? What can we do? Can we put it next to other data for mobility research? It was discussion over and over again. So, but this has learned us, or this showed us, or the city and the province, that this GPS data can be put next to other data that's coming out of some research. And this is an extra additional interesting things that can be learned out of this data. But still, it's difficult to know for them what to do with it, what can we learn from it. And therefore, the maps that are created are mostly a starting point for new research questions, or new questions. Can we do this with the data? Can we do that with the data? Also for the target groups, because we had some specific target groups like schools and companies involved in the application. We asked them also what they wanted to learn out of Route Coach, and for them it was also difficult to see what would come out of an application. But then again, the maps that were created were also a starting point for new ideas, new questions, and they saw the possibilities to do with the maps created for schools or for company, that they could motivate parents, for example, at school, that like a bike isochrone, yeah, within 5 minutes you can go that far from school, so you don't need your car. You are also as fast by bike, for example, but also to go to policymakers, that they can show this specific route where it's very dangerous to bike is used a lot by children biking to school, so maybe it's time to do something about it. The next part of my presentation, normally Siddhartha Gautama of University of Ghent would have talked about this, so for me it's a challenge because I'm not really into this, but this is the data platform that the university has built together with NHTV, the University of Breda in the Netherlands. And within this data platform, Route Coach data is involved, but also the data from the Fietstal app maybe you have used in September, and also data coming out of very ordinary measure points, bike counting points, and all data that governments have, all layers of governments have on biking are entered into this data platform. The idea is that it's an open data platform for fiets or biking, where everyone can go to the platform, and that data is in a way standardized, but that's the big challenge for the university at the moment. So on this platform you can go to the the URL is working already, but at the moment it's just a prototype. Next year in March, it should be useful for everyone. So the idea is that you can click on a specific point and you have directly some graphics and maps there based on what's measured at that specific point over there. There is so all kind of data is put into the platform, all bicycle-related data collected by authorities. So which can be mobile applications, which can be the counting points for bikes, which can be cameras. The challenge now is, as I said before, the standardization of the data, because it's messy at the moment, because during the bicycle counting week, there were also people counting bikes and just counting, and then it's put in an Excel file, and also that data should be entered into this data platform. So there's a lot of standardization work for the university and NHTV at the moment. The idea is that there are some general software processes on that data starting from March next year, so that everyone, for example, Mobiel21 or local governments, can go to the data platform and say, I want this layer, I want a route coach data, and I want to have a speed map, and then I can go to that data platform, I can do that software process on it, and I can have my information over there. Also, the idea is that everyone can access the raw data, but of course, there is the thing with privacy. You cannot download the raw data, but you can do a process on the raw data. And now I'm telling things that is difficult for me, that I do not completely understand, but that's the idea. And there, the anonymization is, of course, a very important thing that University of Ghent and NHTV has to take care of. This is so a joint initiative of Flanders and the Netherlands, so there will also be Dutch data in it, and the prototype of the data platform will be available in March 2016, and you can all use it, so it's an open data platform. The idea is also that there is not only analysis of destination, like for example the train station in Leuven, but that using an application that they can also learn on the types of people that are traveling, or the reason that people are traveling to the train station for work or for leisure, and that they can do analysis on that data also. Next to that, they also want to do some audience management on the data coming into the data platform based on route coach data, for example, so they can also send some very targeted messages through an application. Like, for example, if you want to target people travel by train for a specific message, that not everyone leaves at home at 8 to go to the train station, but that you can learn that person is leaving home at 6, 7, that the message that you want to send based on he's going to that specific train station can be sent on the specific hour that the person itself leaves home. So it's very more targeted and directed to the person himself. I think that's it. Yeah, that was my presentation. The link to the website, to the prototype of the data platform, I can spell it, but it's not it.
Yeah, put it in the Meetup website.
Ah, yeah, okay, that's good. Yeah, okay, I'll do so. Yeah.
Are there people who want to ask questions? I think it's a beautiful application where you see really the combination of data collecting, I assume at a very large scale, because you have huge amounts of volumes. The beautiful aspect that both the user and the government can do their own business intelligence queries on it and check what they are doing, what their own signals are, what their own view is on the data. Mm-hmm. And also, in fact, your role to make people use the app, collect the data, because okay, you can make a nice app, but if nobody is using it,
yeah, then there's no data.
A lot of information to do analysis on, so that's, I think, also your role and your experience to do that. What were your main drivers, or what are the things that you learned, especially in that part? So convincing the people and using the app, and what can you tell to potential?
Well, we did also a user evaluation, of course, and the thing was that most people participated in the application because they really wanted to share data to the policymakers. So the Route Coach story was a bit complex. We talked about sharing data, changing behavior, you get the personal advices, but people really participate because they wanted to share data to policymakers on mobility, because mobility is a challenge. There is a lot to do, especially in Leuven, and so people really wanted to let policymakers learn out of their data.
And nobody questioned the privacy issues? Or?
This was not a big concern. Yeah.
Yeah. The personal travel advice, is it made based on data analysis, or is it how?
And how? What do you mean based on?
In the route coach, you indicated, okay, some advice is given, or an alternative route is it done? Is it given based on analysis of data?
On the data coming out of Route Coach, or well, it was like for an alternative bike route. It was, and you get an advice to use another route. It was based on data coming out of other users, collected by other users, indeed. So that was also the thing.
And the data gathered through the route coach, is it also open data?
Yes, it will also be. You can also get it out of the open data platform in March.
It's interesting for us because these
2016.
are our neighborhoods.
Yeah, but there are also Route Coach users in Ghent and Antwerp, and so it's not only in Leuven.
How can it be talked? It is easy to talk, so assume that somebody else would be interested, or another city or organization here who says, hey, this is interesting, can I contact you? Is it an open platform? Which
the Route Coach itself still exists, so the application still exists, but there is no to convince users.
No. Also in terms of people who said, okay, this interests me. I would like to do this kind of analysis for my particular environment. Think about perhaps on Tom for the buses, the bus infrastructure in Romania. They would say maybe like this kind of analysis too. Can they contact you? Is Mobiel21 open to participate with new parties? Or how does it work?
It's definitely open. We are definitely willing to work on that. Yeah.
Okay. Other questions?
Yeah.
Government sees some potential in this project for the policy implication in the future. If we're interested in ever speak on the given spot in Leuven, say, did you correct it for the characteristics of the road itself? Like,
sorry,
imagine that we are analyzing the data with the linear regression, and we want to predict the average speed on this sector. So did you correct for the people on the road? Because in Leuven there's a spot when you go up, and for the cyclists it's not very pleasant. That's why many people don't want to use the bike and use the bus instead, like in heavily.
Yeah.
So maybe the effect might be corrected for where it's like they're away from the road. Then I don't know how wide is the road itself, because the Protestant is very narrow. Maybe that's why on your map the average speed is really low, because people cannot go faster.
It's always very important to know where the data is collected, indeed. So I don't have the map, I think, but we saw that there was a part of Leuven where we don't have a lot of biking data. And sorry. Okay, this one, the green ones is data coming out of is biking data. So on the top of Leuven, there is not a lot of biking data, but there it's also very hilly. But now you have to look into in depth how what is the reason that we don't have a lot of biking data over there. So we cannot make a conclusion that because it's hilly, because we don't know. we cannot say that. So we have to, if we want to conclude that, we have to do another research, of course. So that's something that you all have to take into account. What data do you have? Where do you have the data? And who was involved to give you the data? So we cannot draw conclusions based on that only. So yeah, I don't know if that's an answer on your question, but
every research has its own foundation.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
How come there are so many straight lines on that?
But this is just the how do you say it? Not the cleaned up data, or yeah. Siddhartha is the one that I can tell you more about. But it's just the not based on the streets, but just not the cleaned up data. I cannot explain it. Sorry. So yeah, it's just art. It's nice to see.
Hey, I hope you liked this presentation. This presentation was held in the Brussels Data Science Community Meetup. If you want to know more of when these meetups are taking place, just check the link below. Bye-bye.